Manitowoc County is located along the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan, with wonderful parks, beaches, schools, nonprofits, neighborhoods, and businesses everywhere you look. What we may not see are those who are suffering, hungry, and unhoused. This video takes a look at the uncomfortable, a look at those who are hidden.
Unsheltered homelessness is becoming more and more pronounced and obvious.
It'll be 20 years ago this October that a group of people that were concerned about homelessness in our county got together.
What we're looking at is more of a length of stay in shelter. What used to be 60 to 90 days turns into 6 months to 8 months to even a year.
And it ain't always that easy, because that's when I thought that I can complete the program in 90 days, and I thought I found housing. I was so happy. And then it went sour.
People are really struggling right now. Finding housing is really hard. I think each agency has its difficulty with the populations that they're serving, whether it's a single individual or whether it's a family of 8 or a family of 3. It's hard for everyone right now to find housing.
And I would say just because you can't identify it as being someone that's homeless, I think you might be surprised to know that you're probably passing a number of individuals that are living in their vehicles or are just making it look like they're making do.
I have had families that spend time in their cars because they can't find a place to sleep for a particular night. Homelessness looks like finding a space to sleep at night. Maybe a friend opens their couch up for a family to stay, or it might also mean doubled up with an extended family member for a period of time. It might mean living in a shelter, the domestic violence center, or a homeless shelter.
These are your community members that might be helping you at a nursing home. These are your community members who might be helping to produce some of the amazing products that come from Manitowoc County.
So it'll be 20 years ago this fall that we've been talking about this issue, and I think we've come a long way, so that's awesome. But there are still people who don't really believe there is homelessness, and I guess I'm here to say I've seen it for 20 years.
There's a myriad of reasons that are causing them to not be able to find maybe stable employment. Maybe that caused their homelessness. Maybe stable mental health issues. Maybe stable substance use issues. The cases are so individual and unique that if we don't figure out the stories, then together we're gonna be aiming our arrows at the wrong target.
You never know how close you are to being homeless until something tragic happens.
I don't know that there is a specific stereotype to talk about when it comes to people finding themselves with a housing instability situation. It could be that there often people are living paycheck to paycheck. If they missed a couple of weeks of work due to COVID or some other illness, it sets people back a great deal, and to try to catch up can be very difficult.
It is one of the most constant issues we have at the clubhouse, whether it be people that are right on the edge of homelessness, whether it be they can't make their rent and they are pretty clear that they will be evicted, whether it be people who are struggling to pay their mortgage and they risk losing their whole house.
The cost of homelessness to a community is just so high, and yet oftentimes we don't see it. And I think here in Manitowoc County, that's just it. It's not as prevalently in our face as it is in in big cities, right? You walked into a big city and you can see homelessness around you. But here in Manitowoc, it's so silent. It's so underneath the radar.
As an employer in the area, we encounter the problem of homelessness a lot. And more broadly, the issue of housing insecurity in our area. The first time that I personally actually was came face to face with the issue in our community was when I was talking to an employee who was actually living in his car. And it really surprised me because I feel that we pay well, and an employee who is earning $40,000, $50,000 a year, I would have assumed can afford a place to live. And his experience opened my eyes to actually the tremendous difficulty of finding a place, of affording a place that even someone who's working in a well-paying job in manufacturing cannot find.
I think about a lot of the families I work with. They work. They're working, and it's just not enough to meet the budgetary needs of their family. Something is not able to give, and sometimes it's rent.
I have 3 daughters, 3 lovely daughters, 16, 11, and 5-year-old. What brought me to experience homeless was the violence. There was a lot of violence in the home.
Because a victim of domestic violence often leaves their relationship more than once before they leave for good, they are going to experience multiple periods of homelessness.
In 2018, my husband had a stroke, and my son was 6 weeks old. Our landlord decided that she had some medical issues, so she was selling her house, and we were unable to find a new home. With my husband having a stroke and being hospitalized for over a month, he was not able to work or have an income. So we found it very difficult to find housing here in Manitowoc, affordable housing. So we ended up homeless.
We have men that work hard, or in families or whoever that really work hard in our programs. They're ready to self-resolve, but yet the door is shut in their face. I have had guys who had money orders ready to go to move into their place, just to have the landlord tell them they went with a different tenant without an explanation. So guess what that leads to? Depression.
I had been homeless for well over a year. It's lonely. It's frustrating. Not being able to shower on a regular basis, not being able to wash your clothes, not be able to have a hot meal or know where your next meal is going to come from, while living in a car, trying to find places to park their car to be able to sleep for the night.
A person cannot work on their mental health if they're living in their car in the Walmart parking lot.
Victims of domestic violence often have poor credit histories, poor employment records, and that's can be and often is due to the violence that they've experienced in their relationship. And those things make it difficult to find housing.
Some common misconceptions about homelessness, and the one that we hear often is, why don't you just get a job? Everybody's hiring. But we see kind of this dominoes effect of what stops someone from getting employment who's in shelter. That's actually one of the biggest barriers we have right now. So a single mom with 3 kids needs childcare for one of her children or 2 of her children. The other one's maybe school aged. She can't go to work because there are waiting lists for childcare. Even though she may qualify for childcare assistance, it's the getting through that waiting list period. Oftentimes that's much longer than our 90-day shelter program.
One of the families at Manitowoc, at the Hope House, took their children down to Sheboygan for daycare for a job in Green Bay. Now, that is a horrid situation.
Food insecurity and housing insecurity go hand in hand in a lot of cases. If you don't have a stable place to live, you may not have a stable place to prepare your meals.
If people do not have a stable housing situation, they're not able to do basic things, take care of laundry, have a meal, have a good night's sleep. And then to ask someone who is living in their car or living on the streets or living in a situation that is suboptimal, to then put in 8 or 10 hours a day of productive work in a factory setting that is demanding physically, that's a lot, and it's easy to understand how difficult that can be for someone to hold down a job while not having a place to live.
So it can mean a variety of things, but what it really does for kids is it means that there's not a secure place to go home at night. And that causes a whole host of insecurities in general.
So one of the things I like to say, this is our community. We can pretend that our community only looks one way, or we can choose to say our community is beautifully diverse.
To say we have a homeless problem doesn't mean that the problem are the people. okay? The problem is the situation that causes homelessness. And that's where we have to address it.
Shelters do a good job, but housing is the end game, right? You want to provide those resources and those connections into permanent supportive housing.
And we know that kids thrive when there is security, and they thrive, they're able to learn when they feel safe. And it's a different sense of physical safety. It's more of a sense of that your environment is predictable.
That if you don't have a home to live in, it becomes very difficult to hold down a job, participate in the community, take care of your kids, go to school, whatever it is that you're doing. A home is that basic foundational block.
Having housing gives people a stability that you don't have even when you're staying in a shelter.
Again, if you can get people into housing, they're in a better spot to be able to work on substance use issues or employment skills or whatever the things are that may are preventing them from moving forward. Housing is the first step.
As an employer, if we're looking to grow and attract more people to come here, housing is a basic element. And for our community to be able to offer housing in the same plentiful way that we offer jobs would just be a real win-win combination.
I know the trials that I went to get to the place where I'm at, where I feel confident today, where I feel like a mother. I was going through a mother's responsibility, but I didn't feel like a mother. I didn't feel like I can provide for them. I was surviving for them, but not providing for them. I didn't feel I was providing for myself. However, today, I feel strong. I feel like a woman. I feel like a woman when I go to work. I feel like a woman when I come home and have to straighten up my own home.
The success of a homeless person or family moving into their own housing, being able to be in their living room, watch TV, not have to worry about a curfew, being able to cook for their families, cook for themselves, brings dignity, respect, integrity.
If the problem gets so bad that we see a lot more homeless than we are seeing now, which will probably happen if we don't do something, what will that say about our community, even as a tourist destination? What will it say about our community as people who care about other people?
Everybody has a story. Don't judge a book by its cover. And give people a chance.
So that's where we have to work together to figure out alternative, creative ways that we can address the problem of homelessness, but not the problem of the homeless. Because people who are experiencing homelessness, they're not the problem. The problem is that they don't have a place to live.
We can help improve the housing situation here in the community. We can not only attract people to live here, but also help them stay here by having a good job and enjoying everything that our community has to offer.
Everyone deserves a place to stay.
Many factors influence well-being. Housing is one of the most critical, yet it is a barrier in our beautiful county. You can let those who are hidden know they are seen by supporting the Housing Coalition of Manitowoc County. Your generosity will help ensure all individuals in our community have access to safe and affordable housing. The impact we can make together is limitless.